We're going to do the Series 4 tier list. Predictions for Zombie Galacti? C tier. Is it weird to think that some of the Series 4 cards are more impactful than the Series 5 cards? Because I really think that there's a lot of really good Series 4 cards that we're not using right, or are just amazing archetype defining cards that players should really be thinking about. So let's dive into the world of Series 4 and just go down the list of what we had and where it is now. Then we'll touch into what has happened in the last 3 months. So let's dive into it. Agony. I think Agony is a card that wants to be better than it is because it only fits into certain archetypes. It's a 1/3 now, which is great. So I kind of want to say reliable winner, but I also kind of want to say matchup because you play it in Destroy, and that's basically it. You know, you see a couple of Nomura synergies and some cheeky stuff like that for single lane pieces, but it's, for some reason, like, people look at Danger as a better 1/3 than Agony, and I just don't understand that. So I'm gonna leave it in matchup for now, but I don't know if I feel that good about it. Annihilus. Annihilus has been on a roller coaster, man, as a 5/6, and I think that he's still good. He's still an incredibly great card in his archetype, but he's very often taken out because we're getting more and more pieces that handle the Hood and the Void and all these negative pieces. Danger, yeah, I meant the Hunger, Mauler, yeah, you know what I meant. I meant Hunger. Hunger, Danger, it's 2 letters off. Batrick. I think Batrick is also up here. I think that the synergy with Captain Sam Wilson is so good, and Batrick is very underrated. Yes, it dies to Killmonger. I get it, but I think it's still an incredibly solid card. If you have your own move deck, Batrick kind of wants to be a part of it in some way, shape, or form. So I really like this card. Hydra Stomper decks, it's a must-have, but even outside of that, any deck that has Sam Wilson will enjoy having Batrick in it. Beta Ray Bill, this, in my opinion, is a bad card. The whole Hammers package needs love. Thor, maybe not Jane, just because of the negative synergy, but the whole Hammers package is meh. But when you do play it, and you get the thing to happen, okay, it's fun, and that's like it. It's just not good enough to be a card that's like in the meta at times. It's just you're playing a Hammers deck. Okay, good for you, you know? Black Knight. Black Knight decks in and of themselves are good. And we're seeing more and more and more emerging Black Knight decks, for example, because of the discard synergy with some of the new cards that came out, which we'll talk about in a bit. And that ability to target a 12 power card consistently makes a 4/12 consistently, which makes this a very good card for those decks. But I think those other pieces are more valuable to them. I think that Black Knight is a worthwhile card, and you call it a Black Knight deck for a reason. The Blob has had his moment in the sun, and I'm kind of glad that he was nerfed down a little bit, but I do think he deserves to come back. Like, you play him in Arishem sometimes, and that's about it right now. Because a 6/13 is not the strongest play more often than not. You've got Galactus First Steps, you've got Red Hulk, you've got Gore, you've got Eliath more often than not being more impactful than just more power than what Blob has. And he's not a ramping out card. So I think it's a card you just play occasionally just for fun, but you're not banking on the Blob synergy to make it work. Cannonball. See, this is a tough one. No, it's not. It's a must-own. I think Cannonball is just like too good to not have. I mean, Control, Destroy, it's just too good to not have. I think this is one of the ones that you target for so cheap. Corvus Glaive. Corvus Glaive for discard is such a tricky card because a Corvus Glaive deck has to not care, right? It has to be things like Hela or Khonshu Apocalypse. And in those decks, it's really good. But you can't throw it into every discard deck, and it can only be played in discard, in my opinion, you know, given the stats. Even though it's a great boost for that extra energy, I think you just have to put it as an archetype specialist because a Corvus deck is very much its own idea in discard. It's a category of discard. So I think Corvus has to hit there. Cull Obsidian, it feels weird to say that this might be a skip card because there are so many more impactful 4-cost cards. And even in Zoo or Thanos, this card gets cut. Like, I don't know what they need to do to Cull Obsidian to make him more playable because he's a 4/10. All you need is a 1-cost card down. But I mean, for now, I'm trying to think, would I play Beta Ray Bill and Blob over Cull Obsidian? And I think I'd probably play Cull Obsidian over Beta Ray Bill. I think we're going to drop him down. Dokken. Dokken's his own deck for discard. If you're playing a Dokken deck, you're playing a Dokken deck. Is it the best version of discard? In my opinion, no, but it's a game-winning one. It is absolutely a game-winning one. Darkhawk, again, so you want to say it's an archetype specialist, but it's not. It's a package specialist, which means it's just consistent. I think that it's somewhere between smart buys and reliable winners because it's similar to the Dokken idea. And if you get it to do the thing, it's just an incredibly strong 5-drop. And I think more valuable than what a Nihilist brings to the table. So I think he's a smart buy. I think he's an absolutely smart buy. Elsa Bloodstone, this is a patch card. This is a patch card. It's a, does the meta want this to happen right now? And at the time of recording this, for example, Elsa has relevance. It's a relevant card, but it wasn't for a long time. And then it'll have about a month in the sun, and then it'll probably fall off again, and then the right card will drop. So it's patch dependent. I don't think it's a top tier card, but it's fun. Just like Fanfei. Fanfei, when Fanfei does the move shenanigans on turn 6, people forget how strong that is. So it's fun. And it's not bad if you do it, but you're building a move deck for Fanfei, which means you don't need to build a move deck for Fanfei. You could just build a move deck. See what I'm saying? So it's a fun option, but you don't need to have it. The first Ghost Rider, if this card had the ability to gain the negative power, this would be a much better card than it is. But the fact that if you discard your lowest power card and it's lower than 0, so like if it discards a Gore, it doesn't go up to 7. It's only everything else. For those reasons, that ends up making it a skip. Because you absolutely don't need it. You can run all of the other discard cards that come for free from your Series 3 collection progression, and you don't need to have the first Ghost Rider. Gladiator. This is just such a good card. This is such a good card. It's just a matter of, is it a must-own or a smart buy? Because you can play it into a billion different decks, and it's a solid 3/8. So he's gone on a hell of a journey in the meta, and I think he's more of a plug-and-play must-own. I really do. I really think he's a plug-and-play must-own because of how many different things that he can be played into. Whether you're pushing a priority deck, you're playing a surfer deck, you're playing a destroy deck, you're playing a control deck, a mill deck. I mean, there are so many different homes for it. I think it's a must-own for those reasons. Gorgon. This is also a patch-dependent card. If the meta appear, actually, no, I'm gonna go matchup. Because if you know you're going into a matchup meta, a series, a tournament, for example, that has a lot of created cards in it, that's what ends up making this card better. Patches don't depend on it as much. Temporary metas do. I think even more than what Elsa Bloodstone does. So I'm gonna put it into matchups. Grandmaster, this is a reliably good card. You're regularly thinking, do I need to duplicate an effect here? And this is just a cheap, great card to do that with. You know, I like it better than Absorbing Man. I think it's a great card. I think you have to have it because it opens a lot of options. It really does. It opens a lot of options in deck building all by itself. Hellion, ooh. I still think Hellion is underrated. I think Hellion needs to make appearances in more decks, to be honest, like non-move decks, because it's like New York, the location. You're constantly playing the game of does it move or not? And that lack of knowledge for your opponent is so damn strong. I'm actually going to put it in reliable winners because I think if you play it in move, it's great. If you play it out of move, it's actually better. And we just haven't fully dove into what Hellion can do for those reasons. Hitmonkey. I think this is a smart buy because just like Dokken, just like Darkhawk, you build a Hitmonkey deck, right? You build a deck that's based around a turn 6 splash, which makes Hitmonkey do the crazy things. Iron Lad, I was asked about this earlier today, and Iron Lad is one of those cards that I think is primed to be a 4/7 nowadays. It's still a 4/6 at the time of recording, but given what the progression of the meta has done with 4-cost cards and the unknown variance of what Iron Lad can hit, I think it justifies itself nowadays as potentially going up to a 4/7. But while it's a 4/6, I think it is a patch-dependent card. If it goes to 4/7, it might shoot all the way up to reliable winners. But for now, it's a good card to have, but not a necessary card to have. Jennifer Kale, I've tried several different builds to make her work, whether it's Jocasta-ing, whether it's Infinauting, whether it's... I always feel like it's just meh. Even at 2/3 now, it's just meh. I end up wanting to play Luna way more, even a turn off. So I think it's a skip card you don't need to use your tokens to get it. King E3, that's a fun card. I'd rather have King E3 in my, in my Arishem deck, in my Kang deck, in my Thanos deck, than I would rather have over Jennifer Kale. It's a flavor piece, so you don't need to have it. But if you do, it's fun, literally, as is. It's fun. Lasher, I mean, if you play Cerebro, Lasher's a Cerebro, blah, blah, blah. Cerebro 2, it's a must-have. If you play Namora, it's a must-have. But certain metas that are high in Shang-Chi or high in Shadow King make Lasher a hit or miss. Only Cerebro 2 is its most consistent home, but for that reason, I'm just gonna keep it lower. Laufey feels like it's regularly the 12th card in Affliction decks, so it's not a specialist. It often ends up getting cut. It can get great power, especially if you Grandmaster it, it's really good, but I think it's all the way, it's down here. I don't think it's a for fun card, because when you do play it as a 4-drop in your Affliction deck, it's really solid. But it's also the first card you cut. Legion. I mean, this is a no-brainer to me. This is one of the top tier 5-cost cards that people forget about all the time, except Arishem players. They all know it. All Arishem players know, play Legion. But, I mean, similar to what Hellion does, like Hellion Legion as a 1-2 combo for your 5-drop options in Conquest, man, that's a devious duo to throw into a deck. Living Tribunal, archetype specialist. I mean, you play a Tribunal deck to be a Tribunal deck. Plain and simple. Load a whole bunch of power. Doesn't matter if it's one lane, and then divide it up everywhere. But it has metas where it's not good. If it's a heavy Enchantress meta, it's not good. Plain and simple. Just not. Other times, it's a great beginning of the season card. That's the best way to word it. It's the first week of the season, this is a great card. After that, Loki. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Loki's a fun card nowadays because you play it in Arishem, sure, but outside of that, you don't make Loki decks anymore. The Loki deck is not really an idea. Sure, King E3 also has synergy with Loki, but it doesn't really it never feels like the deck you want to play. I think Loki could use a mechanism change again to make him just a tad stronger. Not to what he was, to be clear on that, not to what he was, but something just a tad stronger. Man-Thing. You play Man-Thing over Laufey more often than not, and I think it's an incredibly strong card. Like, I love playing Affliction that utilizes the double Affliction combo of like Man-Thing and Diamondback. Like, that's a strong 1-2 punch. Strong 1-2 punch. Mercury, must-have. I mean, Mercury is a must-have. Especially if you get Cannonball, you want Mercury. Do you have to play them together? No. But dear God, just get this card. Have it in your arsenal. It's the better Jeff. I think that Mercury is still not played enough because it's that good, which means it's primed for uh-oh in the future, but just keep an eye on it. In the meanwhile, 2-2, Mercury, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Meek. This is often a card that's cut out of discard, right? Meek is the 13th card. It's the, it's the 6th man. It's the what do I do here card. And I think for that reason, in discard, it ends up being a matchup dependent card where if you're going all in on discard scaling, you're doing the collector shenanigans with Swarm and Morbius, and you need cheap scalers, then it's good. But it's not necessary in all discard decks. Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel, I mean, we're seeing some love for Ms. Marvel again in Cerebro 5, and that's like it. This is another one where, like Loki, oh, how the mighty have fallen, because the condition is too difficult nowadays. I don't think it needs to go back to this old condition of single card, but it could use a little bit of love. Like, I'd rather see a Miss Marvel with less power on it that outputs more power into the other lanes. Like making her a 4/3 that gives +7 to the adjacent lanes that have the condition running. Like, that's interesting to me because then it's a little bit more of a Red Guardian target, and then it's also a little more of a heavy influence card. Something along those lines seems a lot more fun. I'm not a game dev, I'm just a guy who plays the game. Nicholas Scratch. This is also a fun card. It's just meh because there are moments where, especially recently, you contemplate wanting to play Nicholas Scratch. You've got the skills to make it happen. You're clogging your hand. You have a bunch of stuff to play out. And Nicholas just says, that's okay. You got Agamotto, you got Merlin, you got all these things. Sure, progressively climb. It could be good. Claya decks love this as well, but you never need it. It's the card you play in the 12th slot to say, what else could go in this? All right, if it was ongoing, this thing would have so much more value. So much more value. as a 1-cost card. I would rather see Nicholas Scratch as a 1/1 ongoing than a 1/2 that has to be on the board any day of the week. Fastos. See, okay, so Fastos is weird because it's the one that gets cut from Surfer quite often. Hand buff likes it, well, buff decks in general, I should say. So I think it's just a matchup card. Like there are moments where Fastos is really good. No, I'm gonna drop it even further. I'm gonna go down to patch because it's one you grab thinking it makes the most sense, but then when you have to start cutting cards, it's the first one you cut out. Even at 3/4, which is great value, it's just not fully paying off in that sense. Pixie. Oh man. Okay, so Pixie. Because I'm trying to factor Pixie with and without Mobius and Mobius. Pixie decks without Mobius and Mobius, in my opinion, are not good. With Mobius, they are great. They're cheeky, they're fun, they can have really good win rates as well. But when Mobius is present in the meta, you don't want to be playing Pixie decks. Yet, if it's not a Mobius meta, having an opening hand of Pixie and your own Mobius, that's a snap condition. So I'm gonna put it as an archetype with the caveat that it shoots up to smart buy if Mobius is not present regularly in the meta, because then you can capitalize on it more than your opponent can. Ravona. I think this is just it's a reliable card to me because where you want to play it, in the Cerebro builds, in negative, it is providing a lot of cheap reduction for very powerful cards. It's one that can be targeted by Moonstone. There's lots of different things you can do with this. And a lot of those decks, I don't think function without Ravona. It's in a great sweet spot. It doesn't need to be adjusted in any way. Sasquatch is a really interesting one too. I mean, Sasquatch, when you build a Sasquatch deck, it's basically, it does Mysterio matter. And if Mysterio matters, you play Sasquatch. I mean, if you watch my live streams, you see my deck builds, you know I love a good Mocking Squatch deck. Love a Mocking Squatch deck. But they very often don't feel good. I'm gonna put them down in patch dependent. Sebastian Shaw, I think, is a reliable card if you play Surfer or hand buff. It's just solid power and shoots up very, very quickly. Very, very quickly, adding on those extra +2s. But you invest very heavily into the idea of what this card can do too. So remember that. Scar has seen better days. The Sauron builds, I think, were incredibly good, but I think Scar is an archetype because even the Sauron builds that used to run Scar no longer do. And the decks that want Scar to be good, like Thanos even, where we saw Scar for a little while, there ends up being better options at a reduced cost. Like very often it makes more sense to have Sage in your deck as a guaranteed 3-cost you could play on the final turn versus a Scar that might be a 3-cost on the final turn, you know? So for the same ceiling or a similar ceiling, I should say, it would be make more sense to play Sage. And yeah, even in the Surtur builds, that Surtur deck runs with Scar. You want it to work that way. Dropping Surtur on 3, big 4-drop on 4, big 5-drop on 5. This is now a 3/12. You drop that in Starbrand. Like that's what you're trying to do, but it doesn't mean it's going to always win. Supergiant. Okay, so Supergiant at the time of recording is a must own. And I'm trying to think of the future with this card. Supergiant is a 4/7, has a lot of catch-all synergy, but up until the the Invisible Woman First Steps decks started taking off, the card wasn't changed and just wasn't played as much. And people saw it as a cheeky option. But the meta changed enough to make the card relevant. So in the next 3 months, the question then has to be asked, does the meta stay stable enough that Supergiant keeps its relevance, or does it fall off at all? And I honestly think it will fall off a little bit, but as long as it stays a 4/7, it's a smart buy. Not every deck wants to run Supergiant, but you run a Supergiant deck with that in mind. Phoenix Force, I mean, Revival's its own archetype. I think that one's pretty straightforward. We want to leave that one as a, like, you're playing a Phoenix Force deck. You probably even afford to get a power back too. Topaz, now as a 3/5, is probably pretty good. Just not played enough. But for now, it ends up being a for fun card because most of the better move decks do better without Topaz than with. Toxie is another card where you look at its statistics and you go, that's a 2/7. How is that bad? And it makes me think back to Zombie Captain Marvel and how generally people feel about that card. And it makes you feel like, but I also think that you can't make this card better. But when it's a two cost card that you drop on turn 2, it's great. But if I'm looking for that synergy, I'm looking for Pixie decks rather than Toxie-Doxie decks. Uncle Ben has gone on a wild ride because it was a little bit of a meme card when it premiered, and people just thought it was fun to do the thing of get Spider-Man and get the movement, and then people started playing into it more and more and more. And I think now it's actually pretty reliable. I think if you have any kind of destroy control situation, it's a card you legitimately think about and has good value for disruption, for destroy. Like, this is a good card to have in your arsenal. And that feels so weird to say, you know? It feels weird to say that, but you end up with great value from this card regularly. Valentina. This is a matchup card because not every meta wants to have reduced power 6-drops. But sometimes, man, that's nice. You know, throwing that into a, you know, an Airship deck, of course. Yes, you play Valentina on 2, and then whatever you drew, even if it's a 6 cost, you'd be able to play it on turn 3. That feels good. We enjoy that. However, a lot of the 6 cost cards do suffer from losing that 3 power, like a lot. So I think it's okay, but it's definitely not a specialist either. Werewolf by Night is in the same category as Hitmonkey, where it's a smart buy. You're building a deck, factoring in 1-drop on reveals, whether it's skills, whether it's, you know, little 1-drops themselves, you know, Kate Bishop shenanigans with all of the arrows. And there's a lot of things you do with a werewolf that you just can't do with any other card. And it would make sense to put it in must own for those same reasons. But the restriction of it needing so many cheap on reveals is what keeps it down into smart buy only. X23, if you play Destroy at all, X23 is a must-have. It's a must-own. It is the card that really opened the door, more than Nico Minoru did, card that opened the door for Destroy to be something relevant in Marvel Snap. And I think it's a card that is under-respected in that role. It is just so good, man. It's just so good. We've gone through the cards up through July. Now the Series 4s that have released since the last tier list. All right, so let's start with Super Adaptoid. Now, this released as a solution to Jocasta at the same time as Jocasta, but you just don't play this card. Like, you want to say that it's patch dependent if there's relevant. No, you just don't. You have too many other better options. It's the same thing as Ghost. There are too many better options to control the chaos that you're trying to control. That's what this card is. Redshift, incredibly good. Incredibly good. You play a discard deck. I mean, you play the Agatha style builds, of course, then this is a must-have. You know, same thing with Zombie Power Man. But either way, I think both of these are consistent enough in discard right now that you always consider them as one of your discard options. Zombie Power Man constantly discarding cards. Yes, it wants a specific type of deck, but I think it's such a great trigger to make the fun discard stuff do the stuff you want it to do that you have to recognize it as you have this down on 2. It's a really good thing, and you're already favored. Firelord just recently got up to a 4/7, and maybe Zombie Captain Marvel creates some fun stuff for Firelord in the future, but it's a skip. It's just a skip card. I want it to be better. Airwalker definitely is better than Firelord, but they were meant to be played with each other. You keep thinking about it going, I'm good. I don't need that one. I'll get something else to do the destroy, you know? I think that Firelord bringing back a card is great. It's fun. It's cheeky, but it's too narrow because it's trying to only bring back Airwalker. I think Airwalker goes for fun. Firelord is oh God, you don't need that in your Airwalker deck. Mole Man, okay, hot take. Mole Man's better than we give him credit for. I think that Mole Man is potentially one of the most slept on cards in Marvel Snap. I think that Mole Man is very good, but you have to build for him. You have to build knowing he's going to do the extra things. And certain metas he's going to be great in, and other metas, obviously, you know, Shadow King metas are not good. Killmonger metas are not good. But if you get the chance to play him, I mean, those are incredibly strong 1-drops regularly. Like, he's very good in something like, even an Airship deck that plays Mole Man, you have a high percentage chance of hitting something of high value more often than not. So keep an eye on Mole Man. I wouldn't be surprised if a deck emerges in the future that makes him really, really good. Terrax the Tamer single-handedly brought Darkhawk back into the limelight because he's a 3-cost card that puts multiple rocks in the deck. And if you play Darkhawk, you have to have Terrax, in my opinion. You have to. Even in a priority style deck, this is also still a good card. You don't see it as often there. It's basically, you almost always want to play Darkhawk there too, but I don't think you ever feel bad having Terrax put 2 rocks into your opponent's deck, sometimes 3. I'm going to go a little out of order from the bottom here. Astral Projection, I want this to be a better card, but I just don't think this should have, I don't think this should have been a 3-cost skill. This would have made more sense as a 3-cost card, like a 3/1. I don't think it makes sense as a skill. Too many on reveals are dependent on the card itself and the power that happens to the card or the effect of a card. For those reasons, I'm thinking it's just a fun option, but it's nowhere near needed. Awesome Andy got buffed and he's aight, you know, like we should experiment with a deck that is like Awesome Andy, Zombie Captain Marvel, Zombie Mr. Fantastic, and all of these like cheap 2-cost cards that have widespread power, like Toxie Doxie, like just throw them all into a deck and just let them keep stacking on each other. I think that'd be fun. Maybe we'll do that because for now, I think that Awesome Andy is just a fun card. Some decks like to have him, but that's it. Silver Surfer First Steps. Originally perceived as a waste, finally found a home in these Gwenpool Wiccan decks, and when Silver Surfer does the thing, it does it well. But I think it's to the same effect of like a Corvus Glaive. It's not necessary for those cards to truly do what they want to do. You don't need to have this card, but you build around and into it, then you're looking at some fun stuff. So I think it is an archetype specialist in that sense where you have to lean into winning the lane with this card to get the effect to happen. Cobra. This is a matchup card. I think that Cobra is one of those cards that if you know you're going into a tournament, you're going into a heavy conquest meta, and there's a lot of Thanos, or there's a lot of Zombie Scarlet Witch, or there's a lot of etc., right? All of that stuff is when you then think about Cobra as a defensive option. Like I was running Cerebro 3 with Cobra and it works. Activate, destroy the thing. As long as you get it down by 5, boom, make the things happen. Danger, very good. But also, as we've seen with 4-cost activates in Multitude, they often are clunky and get cut. And that's kind of where I feel like Danger is, where it's a good card, but you often just go, I'd much rather something more synergetic rather than this destroys a cheaper card. There's a world where I could see this maybe getting a like cost buff. Like this at 3/5 is much more interesting to me than 4/6. Activates are at 4 cost have to really be good to be worth it. And I just don't think this one made it to those upper echelons that it wants to. Like Fantasticar. Fantasticar in end of turn decks was the first card that people started cutting because it lost 2 power, it lost its body, and as a 4/5, it's just like, okay. You can't drop it on the final turn of the game as a 4/7 body and just have it be there for shiny objects. It's just, you know? Zombie Giant Man, you know, at the time of recording, we don't have all of the Horde cards yet, but I do think that if you are running a Horde deck, this is a must-have. And man, does it win when it stacks well. I don't think it needs a lot to make it work well. It just needs enough and a little bit more time and a little bit more synergy. I mean, this can be an incredibly strong 5-drop that we see other people then doing things like Grandmaster, Absorbing Man, and they just, you know, get the effect to happen twice and really fun. I like the Horde archetype. I'm not sold on it being 100% meta long-term, but I do like what the card brought to the table. And then there's the Mad Stinker. Seriously, what do we got to do, man? So there you go. Series 4s in where I believe they are most appropriate right now. So if you're looking to use tokens on Series 4s, I truly think the only place you really like immediately run to are the top 2 tiers. Reliable winners, those are deck conditional. If you're building the deck that it wants to be featured in, go for it. The only exception to that is probably Hellion. And then everything else, you're really honing in and hoping like, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this. I don't know. Like leaving the Series 5s and going to the Series 4s here, I think that these Series 4s are unfortunately accurate because I want several of these pieces to be better. Like Iron Lad deserves to be better. Ms. Marvel deserves to be better. Cull Obsidian deserves to be better. It's just not there yet. So for now, at least for October 2025, this is where the Series 4 tier list settles. So keep an eye for the Series 5 list, which you will probably see somewhere floating on the screen now. And as always, down below, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see y'all next time.